Today's video, we are going to take a trip down memory lane. I have composed the first alternative fly tie material videos I made, and I took 10 of them together and I put them in just as they were done. For those of you who haven't got to see all of them, and for those of you who haven't found my channel yet, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Here's the first 10. Thank you guys for all the support. This video is going to be the first of a series of videos on alternative fly tying materials. I think this is a really important subject for people getting into fly tying or people who've been fly tying for a lot of years. As a young man, I was born and raised in Golden, Colorado, and my family got divorced and we relocated to Southwest Oklahoma. And when I say in Southwest Oklahoma, I can throw rocks at Texas from my yard. I mean, we're in the very, very southwest corner. And when I was a kid, nobody down here fly fished. Nobody had fly rods. They thought I was stupid when I brought them out and tried. But I loved fly fishing, and I'd go to the river and I'd fish for gar. Heck, I'd try to catch catfish or crawdad patterns. And, you know, I'd fish the farm ponds for bass, and I loved fly fishing. And it wasn't popular down here, but I did a lot of it, and I was just kind of the oddball. Well, the eastern part of the state, they trout fish and stuff like that, but over here they didn't. So there was no resources whatsoever for fly tying material. The closest fly shop would have been in Oklahoma City or Dallas at that time. No, it would have just been Dallas. It would have been Cabela's in Dallas because Oklahoma didn't have a Bass Pro at that time. So there was no way. It wasn't feasible for me to be able to go to a fly shop. So I had to order through catalogs. And I hated like looking through a catalog and like, oh, you know, what's it really going to be like when it gets here? So I would order some stuff here and there. And then in the summer when I'd go see my dad, I'd go to every fly shop I could and I'd get fly stuff and I'd bring it back. But I'd always run out, or I didn't have the money to get everything I wanted. So I was watching a TV show about where they make stuff and how they do stuff. And there was an episode one day, and it was crazy, ironic, because I was tying flies and the recipe called for some badger hair. I didn't have any. And I'm done, and I go in the house, and they're watching TV. So I sit down with family watching TV, and there's an episode on shaving brushes, and the shaving brushes were made out of badger hair. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome, you know. So I was telling my parents about it, and the antique shops used to carry these. You know, it was a common thing. A lot of people had them on display and whatever. So we ran down to an antique shop, and for $1, I was able to buy a big old bundle, and sure enough, it was badger hair. Good quality badger hair. And it was fascinating to me. So I really got into the point that I would really study materials. Well, my mother was a quilter, crafter. She did everything. So was my grandparents. So I was in and out of craft stores all the time. So when I was in and out of these craft stores, I was in there looking at the yarns and the ropes and the glues and, you know, anything and everything I thought I could make a fly out of. And over time, I learned a lot about materials. So I'm going to share some of that with you. So the reason I'm doing this is I actually screwed up this week, and I ordered from Jay Stockard. I'm going to Cibola Creek, Colorado this next week, and I need to tie a bunch of terrestrial patterns. So I'm tying some chubby Chernobyls, and I needed some white poly yarn. I had run out of it. I'm out of EP fibers and everything. It was like, what in the world? So I ordered some. Well, I clicked the wrong color, and I ended up getting black polypropylene yarn. And it'll work for some of the patterns I'm making, but I was wanting white, and it was like, crap, I don't have enough time to make another order and it get here in time for me to tie my flies. So I did what I normally do, and I went to the craft store. I went to craft store and I started looking in their yarns, and I found, it's called Bonnie Craft Cord. Now this is not in the yarn section. This is in the section with like the beads and stuff like that, where they make like dream catchers and like plant hangers and stuff like that. So you will not find this in the yarn section. Go to the other craft section where all the beads are at, and you'll find this. In this stuff, if you look at the ingredients, it's 100% polypropylene yarn. It's braided, so you have to brush it out, which is no biggie. So you can buy this whole roll for $4.99, and it is 100 yards of yarn. Now they have it in browns and blues, reds, orange, tan, green. I bought every color they had in stock. And this stuff is the exact same stuff as the poly yarn that you can get from a fly shop. So what I've done, just to show you guys, is I got this roll of black right here, which I already had black, but I wanted to show you guys a comparison so you could see how so accurate it was. So here's a piece that I have frayed out. And I'm going to get the package from the store, from the fly shop. Now, theirs is not as thick as this, which is no big deal, but it is the exact same material. And you can separate it into however big of pieces you need to tie with. So it's super, super easy to do. So I'm going to show you guys how you can take and make this into the poly yarn like we use for chubby Chernobyls. So what you're going to use is you're going to take a cat brush just like this. Move the camera down so you guys can kind of see. You're going to take this cat brush and you're going to take your thread or your poly yarn and you're just going to kind of start brushing through all of that. And then you're going to pull, kind of loosen all them braids up, and you're just going to brush. And each time you do that, you gain about a ½ inch of progress. And before long, you can unwind all the way down and you'll have a substantial amount of poly yarn. And this stuff, you can make strike indicators, you can use it on your chubby Chernobyls, you can use it in places that you need EP fibers. It is absolutely the same thing. And you can, like I say, this roll was $5.99 for black, but you can get 100 yards of this stuff in every color imaginable, and it's about the same price for a yard of this stuff, you know, through fly shops. Now, I support your fly shops, guys. Them guys know their stuff. They're gonna, you know, help you with what the local patterns are. They have high quality materials that are specifically designed for fly tying. So if you can go and deal with them, every chance you get, you need to support your fly tyer in your fly fishing shop. But if you're not able to get to a place like that and you're needing poly yarn for this video's sake, this is the easiest way to get it. I just cut this little piece off and all I got to do is just fray it out, and it is exactly what I need. So I'm going to be able to make a bunch of chubby Chernobyls without having to order and wait and try to, you know, tie all these patterns up before I go on my fishing trip. I was able to go to the local craft store and they had it. So for polypropylene yarn, this is what the package looks like. It's called Bonnie Craft Cord. It's the exact same product, guys. So I hope this helps, and we will see you in the next video. I will try to post one of these alternative materials probably weekly, to where you guys can kind of each see a different material and where you can source that material, and we'll start tying up some patterns with it. You can see it being done. So appreciate your guys' support, and we'll see you in the next round. Today's video is the second video in the series of alternative fly tying materials. Now, I was going to post this video last week, and I apologize. I went to the mountains in Colorado fishing, and I brought everything to do the video, and I had no cell phone service, no internet, no anything, so I just fished the whole time. So anyhow, we caught a bunch of browns and brookies, and we had a great time up in the mountains, Colorado. We're back, so here we are with the video again. Today's video, I'm going to talk about a fly that I used a lot on my trip. I did a lot of dropper fishing, and when I say dropper fishing, I mean I'm fishing like a midge or an nymph or a perdigon or something like that below an indicator fly. Now, a lot of people use like chubby Chernobyls and stuff like that, but I also use dry flies with big gaudy wings. And the reason I do that is they're easier for me to see. So if I'm fishing in low light conditions or I'm fishing with a dropper somewhere, I can see it. And when I get that bite below, these things flash real good. So they make a great indicator fly. A lot of people fish them for just dry flies as well. But you can see the wings, they're pretty big. They're reflective. They work pretty good. Now, they also make smaller wings on dry flies. And you can see here, I've got some that have some little wings protruding up. And then I also do a lot of hopper bodies. So like here's a little parachute hopper I've made. And you can see the back, it's got a wing case material as well. So you can buy these materials, and they come in little packages like this that are pre-cut. Or you can buy the material and you can use wing burners and make your own. And that's great. There's no problem with that. But say you live like I do, like I've said a million times before in these videos, and you're not able to get to the fly shop, or you're not able to order something that day, I'm going to show you guys some materials you can use with some simple tools to make all the wings that you want. Now, I got these wing burners, and what they are is they're basically like a set of tweezers. And they come in every kind of shape and size of wing that you can imagine. And basically, they're just a piece of brass folded in half that has all the different shapes for mayflies, for stoneflies, to make the little body segments. I mean, you can, pretty much the sky's the limit on these things. So if you get a pair of these, you can make all the wings that you want. I get these from J. Stockard. Most fly shops will have them, but J. Stockard has them. I love that company. I've been doing business with them for years. They treat me good, so that's where I do most of my business from. So what the material is that I'm going to talk about today is called tulle. It's spelled T-U-L-L-E, and what it is a veiling material. Now, any store that sells material, that sells like sewing stuff, should have it in either a roll like this, or you can buy it off the yard. Now, if you can get it all bought by the yard through the material section, you can get these great big sections, and I've got, these are half yard, and I got 50 cents a piece in them in all these different colors, and they work amazing. And if you'll notice, the material is going to be almost identical to the material those wings are made out of. Now, the way I do it is I've got a little piece of that tool right here that I've cut off of here. Now, you can take scissors and you can cut the shape out, and you can make them whatever shape you want, but they'll fray and they won't stay together as good as if you use a wing burner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little piece and I'm going to put it on my wing burner. I want it just to be a little bit bigger than my wing burner. Now, these wing burners are awesome. If you're doing a bunch, you can use a candle. If you're just doing a few like I'm going to do for the video today, you just need a lighter. So all you're going to do is you're going to clip it in between the two pieces of metal, and you take your lighter and you just singe it off. Now that is going to turn out to be a pretty cool little wing. So you've got your little wing material made, and you can make all the different shapes, sizes, whatever colors, and it works pretty well. I've made a few just to show you guys in different sizes, and it singes the edges that gives it a great sealed contour, and it makes it look a little more realistic when they're singed around there instead of just cut. So that tool material is great. I love it for wings, but there's also other materials. Say you don't want to go to the store or whatever, you can get right in your house and you can get fabric softener sheets. Now I can get these fabric softener sheets. You can get these at the dollar store. You can buy them for $1. Scented, unscented, it doesn't matter. I've used them both. I've never had any problems with either one. Take it, cut the little piece just as you did before. Take your wing burner, put it on the wing burner as such. Take your lighter. And be careful that you're not burning yourself when you get back with the wing burner. But these make outstanding wing material as well. You can see that thing's got the perfect little shape. It's durable. That edge being singed gives it more realistic look, and it works. They work great. So say you want other options. Well, everybody gets foam in the mail when they order stuff. So if you buy any kind of electronic, it's going to have this little thin foam on there. The same difference. You can take and you cut a little piece. I got my little piece. Put it in my wing burner. Making sure it sticks out just a little bit on all the edges. And I can singe it down. Just as such. I can pull it out, and I've got my perfect shaped wing material. So guys, if you're going to be tying flies with wings, which I recommend, they look awesome. You can get way creative with them and make them look way more realistic than other patterns. They're great for indicators. Some of them just look cool. Some of them are for the fishermen and not the fish, but they work good. They enhance the visibility for the fishermen. They make a bigger shadow on the water for the fish. When they're ganked up, they give more durability on the floating aspect of things. It's just awesome to have wings. Maybe not every fly, but there's a lot of patterns that do. You can get these, like I say, these little sets of wing burners from J. Stockard. They're not much. I'm thinking it's like $15 for the set. Not very much to do it, but you can make an unlimited amount of wings. And like I say, you can use foam, you can use dryer sheets, or you can use tulle. And you can buy all kinds of different colors and shapes and variations. I think they had 40 different options in these rolls. I bought every option that they had in the colors, but I mean, you can get them with glitter, you can get all kinds of different stuff. So you can match whatever you're really wanting to go for. So these little options here are something you can buy local. You can make wings, and you don't have to spend that big money to buy the little packages of wings like this. I think this little package was like $4. You know, they can get really expensive. So this was another tip that I hope will save you guys some money and give you more options and variety when tying. So I hope this helps, and we will see you guys in the next video. Today's video, I want to talk to you guys about alternative fly tying materials again. We're going to go into the department stores, and we are going to go into the dusting section today. And when I say dusting section, I'm talking about where you can find microfiber, poly duster, and feather dusters. Now these things are overlooked by a lot of people, and they are unbelievable sources for fly tying materials. Now when I go in and I get a feather duster, I want to always try to find the ostrich feather. This one here, I counted them one day, and I think there was 57 feathers in this bad boy. I can get this for the same price that I can get this. It's one feather, 57 feathers, same price. And if you watch, you'll find them in different colors and stuff. A lot of times they're natural. Now, I really like ostrich herl on my midges. If I'm tying a smaller pattern, I use these on the thorax all the time. I really like them. They're durable. And this, I mean, is some high quality feathers. I mean, you can see how they look. I mean, this is some really good materials. Now, when I get a feather duster, I want to get the ostrich feather duster. I do not want to get one that's got the marabou. When you find the ones that have the marabou feathers on them, I've tried them. When you tie them and you get them wet, the colors that are in them feathers will bleed into your thread and your other materials. The dye is not set in them. Always, 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 always buy your marabou and your hackle at your fly shop. They're prepared better and they won't bleed over. But for ostrich herl, you cannot get it cheaper or better quality than this. The next thing in that same section is called the poly duster. And this is some of the best streamer hair you can find. And you can get this thing with enough material to tie thousands of streamers for the price of one little package of streamers. And then we all know the wonderful mop fly. You guys can get these things, and if you're fishing stalker trout and you want to get some mop material, they have them in every color. I think I have 20 different colors of these things. So in the dusting section in your department stores, these things are here. They're available. They're cheap. And if you're needing some materials, can't get to your fly shop, here's another source of materials and another source to save you guys some money. So I hope this helps. We will see you guys in the next video. Today I'm going to continue the series of alternative fly tying materials. So we are going to talk about egg patterns today. Now there's a couple different kinds of egg patterns. There's two different that I use pretty often. And one is a floating egg pattern and one is an ecstasy egg that sinks down to the bottom. A lot of Euro fishers using them, indicator fishers, stuff like that. So if you're fishing on top, you're going to probably use something like this. And this egg yarn is kind of a buoyant, it floats, it works out really well for the floating eggs. It's really easy to tie. It comes with like a little straw and you just hold it down and you tie it right on the hook and then you cut it and it floofs up and that straw kind of keeps it contained. So if you're using that kind of material, a little package like this, here's a package I bought right at $4 of one color, and it's right at like 1.5 yards that comes in the packages. So what I have found is you can go to Hobby Lobby and they sell what's called Showstopper. Now this Showstopper is polyester, so it's going to float, and you can get these where the spools are a solid color, pretty much any of the colors that are here, or you can get the multi-strand like what I've got. And what I do is I get this and then I just separate out my colors, and the colors come right at the perfect thickness when you separate them out to tie the egg pattern. So you can see right here, I have that part. So when I separate that color out, I'll take my bobbin threader and I'll run it through a little short piece of just a drinking straw and pull that through to where I can set that straw down on the hook and tie my material and then pull it off and cut it, and it keeps it from fraying all over. But this stuff works very, very similar to this. Not identical, but very, very similar, and does a very good job for a floating egg pattern. You can buy one of these that's got 5 different colors of material in it at 26 yards for $12. So basically you can get this for twice the price of this, and you have 26 yards of 5 different colors. So you can make way more eggs with this than you could ever even dream about with this pattern. So this stuff works good. So this is one product. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is ecstasy. Now ecstasy is, it's a hot product. You can see they come in all different colors. The little packages are, I mean, there you can see the colors are, there's just all different kinds. Now ecstasy is really popular right now, and during the mid-season and end of season it's really hard to get your hands on some of the really popular colors. So I buy bunches of it because I tie a lot of ecstasy patterns, and I have to use ecstasy because I'm selling it as an ecstasy egg. But if you cannot get your hands on some ecstasy and you're wanting to tie, this is ecstasy material. Now you can go to Dollar Tree and they sell Dream Chanel just yarn. And you can see this material is almost identical. Very similar. Not perfect, but very similar, and it does a very good egg pattern. So if you're tying eggs for yourself, or you're tying for others and you're not going to market them as something that they're not, you can get this, and it comes in all different colors. I even get a brown color, and when you're talking with feeder fish, this stuff works awesome because it looks like a little pellet and they just dodge it, and it's just amazing. So again, you can get these to work in place of ecstasy if you cannot get your hands on ecstasy or you just want to save a bunch of money. You can get a roll of this for $1. and it is 73 yards. So it's literally, I don't know what's an ecstasy box, somewhere probably a yard or two. So you're looking at, 35 to 75 times more for $1. So this stuff works good, it's cheap, and it does good egg patterns. This stuff here makes a great pellet pattern. So you can go to Dollar Tree and Hobby Lobby and replace your egg material pretty easy if you need to. So hope this helps, and we will see you guys in the next video. Today's video, I want to talk about alternative fly tying materials again, and we're going to discuss materials that I use for scud backs, for making maggots, for making caddis pupae, stuff like that. A lot of times we will go and we'll get like a de-ribbing, or we'll get some kind of a stretch cording or scud back material. So I had used latex, and latex works pretty good. I'd get rubber gloves. I was a cop for 20 years, so I had access to rubber gloves, and I'd cut them into strips and I'd bind them down, and it works pretty good. I also used, way back in the day when I was a kid, when the newspaper would come to the house, I would take that newspaper. The Denver Post had great big rubber bands on it. So I would take them and I would make my maggot flies out of them. Well, after about a year, they dry up, they fall apart. We did not have UV resins back then, so we would use epoxy. Well, that epoxy would get all brown and hard, and they'd just fall apart. It was a bad, bad, bad program. So what I started using later in life was latex balloons. And you can go and you can buy a package of these latex balloons. These were from the Dollar Tree, so they were $1.25 for a bag that has probably a dozen of every color that they have. And you can see there's tons. I mean, every kind of color you can imagine. Now, I use, of course, the white ones while making like maggots, and some of my scud backs I'll cut and do that as well. And then caddis pupae, depending where you're at, they have different shades of them, so you can use the different colors for that. But something else you can do is you can cut these into strips. And if you cut them into like a 1/4 inch strip, you can roll them, and then you can, when you get them rolled, hold them tight, and you can wrap them on a body, and it looks very similar to detubing. So when you do that, you can, supplement one more material that way. Latex balloons also don't have the powder coating on them that rubber gloves do, or latex gloves do, or that rubber bands do. So if you get these, your UV resin sticks to them really well. It's a good program. I use these a lot for different bodying materials, and you can get a lot of it really, really, really cheap. So if you're into making these kinds of bodies, get you a bag of latex balloons. It's a cheap source to get a lot of materials, and it works really well. Hope this helps. We'll see you in the next video. Today's video is going to be another video in the series of alternative fly tying materials. Now, we all that tie flies and do different stuff, we use different kinds of paints and stuff for different applications that we use. Now, a lot of people, Eurofishing is really getting popular in indicator fishing. A lot of us are going to these little 80th ounce jig heads and tying flies on them that we fish under an indicator or a Euro jig. And when you fish with them, a lot of guys powder coat them. Some of them paint them with different methods here and there. Now, powder coating works really well. It's time consuming. It takes a little bit of special equipment. You got to bake them on to make it durable. If you don't bake it on, it's not much more durable than fingernail polish or anything like that. So fingernail polish is something that most all of us use. You always hear Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. Everybody uses that. And it's a great product, but you're using fingernail polish, it starts to dry up. It has a higher evaporation rate than most other paints because you're putting it on your fingernails and you want it to dry fast. So it's designed to do that. So as you're applying it, it gets thicker on the brush, it gets thicker in the bottle, and it starts to become a gooey, stringy mess. So something I've been doing for a little over 35 years is I use model paint. And I like Tester's brand model paint. You can get these little jars, and they have an array of colors. I'm going to zoom down. You can see I have a ton of colors. So these model paints, they're a thinner paint. They cover really well, but they have a slower evaporation rate, so they're a little slower to dry. So if you have a hanging rack, like I've showed in previous videos, where you take them and hang them, so I'll take my hemostats and I'll put my jig head into my hemostats like this, and then I take a brush and I paint them, and the hemostat keeps the eye from closing up, and then I just hang them on that rack, and when I get done with all of them, I'll let them sit for a couple hours, and they're usually dry. So it works out pretty well. Now, both the acrylic and the enamel are very thin, so they're not going to get all gooey. I literally painted 150 jig heads the other day, and the bottle didn't get dry at all. It didn't get dry on the brush. They apply way smoother. They're a way finer grade of paint and a way thinner grade. It has good coverage, but the application of it is not as thick. Now, a lot of guys are going to go, oh, that scratches off, that scratches off. So does fingernail polish, and so does powder coat that's not applied good. So when I use this, either acrylic or enamel, I take and I apply, either when I put my head cement on my whip finish, I'll brush a little bit over the whole fly, or sometimes I'll take super glue and I use a brush on super glue and I'll brush over it, which makes an extremely durable head. Now, there's certain brands of super glue that have effervescence when they dry, so you don't want to get that. You want to get one that dries clear, and you'll just have to play around with that. I use fingernail polish or fingernail adhesive glue for fake fingernails. Is the glue I get. It's the cheapest I can find, and it's very, very, very high quality. I really like it. It seems to work really well. So these Testors model paints, you can get them in metallics, you can get them in reflectives, you can get them in neon, you can get them in every color that there are, and they go really fast. When you're applying, they don't take a bunch of specialty equipment. If you're using the enamel, they sell a thinner that you can use with them that'll clean your brushes and stuff like that. But I go and I buy these cheap little brushes like this. This pack was $1, so I can take, and when I get done, I throw my brush away. It's cheaper to buy a brush than it is to clean it and mess with it after that. So Testors model paints. Now, I'm going on about these a little bit, but the reason why is I was kind of a nerdy kid when I was a teenager, and I used to play Dungeons and Dragons way back when I was like 10, 11, 12. I had some family members who played, and I'd go over there and play with them. I outgrew that phase, but during that time, we painted these little lead figurines. Now, all of these jars that have the white lids are from that time. That was literally 24 years ago. I took and opened every bottle the other day and checked them to make sure they were all still good. And out of 24-year-old paint, I had 4 bottles that were bad and 31 that were still good paint, both in the enamel and the acrylic. They stay good forever. And like I say, when you open them up, they don't have a fast flash point where they evaporate off. They're slower drying paint, so you can apply and you can get it done. And if you're doing a bunch at once, it doesn't dry in the bottle. These things are awesome. The shelf life is incredible. I was in shock that 24-year-old paint and it's still working and it's still good. They're a couple dollars a bottle, very similar in the price of fingernail polish. But this bottle goes on thinner than fingernail polish, so it lasts longer. You get more coverage out of it. It's just as durable as fingernail polish, and if you coat over it like you should on any of the others to build the durability, it works great for painting jig heads. Now, like I say, this is not as good as a heat-coated powder coat, but this is as simple for the guys who are just painting. So if you're using fingernail polish to paint your jig heads, I ask you to go to Testors. They are way better, way faster, way easier to apply, and they're about the same price. So I hope this helps, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Today's video, we are going to talk about a material that I started using probably 35 years ago. And it was because of necessity. I didn't have any access to a lot of the materials that normal people had. And I would, go to Colorado as a kid. My parents were divorced and my dad lived in Denver and actually Golden. And I would go spend the time in Golden, and then in the, summer break is over, I'd come home. And down here, Southwest Oklahoma, there wasn't no fly shops. There wasn't anything. There wasn't the internet. So I could subscribe to some magazines, but I didn't get to do that a lot. And there was mail order catalogs. And in the mail order catalogs, you could see the new materials, but, I couldn't afford them. I couldn't get my hands on them. So I made do with what I could get my hands on. So what we're going to talk about today, the material that I really started to use a lot, are Sequins. This little package, I bought it at the Dollar Tree the other day, and it comes with 5 of these in different colors. Now, these things they're pretty durable. A lot of people will think they aren't, but I used them and and abused them, and they worked great. And it's just a little circle like that. And these little Sequins, back when the pistol peat fly became really popular, man, I wanted to get some. I didn't have access to them, and I wasn't going to wait to order anything. So these little propellers that you'd put on the front of them pistol peat flies, I would take my scissors and I would just kind of cut this into the shape of a propeller and put it on the front of my fly, and it would spin around just as good. And it actually had more motion because it's a little softer. So when you would jerk that fly, it would spin it, but it would also bend it around and wiggle that fly in all different directions. And when I started watching that in some clear water and seeing what it was doing, I was like, man, this is awesome. So I would take some of them And when I tie my fly, I'd slide on a sequence first with it cupped forward, and I'd take a lighter and kind of heat it up and bend it to where it cupped a little bit better. And if I was fishing, you know, especially for bass, I could take this thing on and just hit it, and it would just disperse that water and pop. I mean, it was unbelievable for like little frog patterns and even like wounded fish down in the water. It works great. It creates a lot of action, and you don't have to incorporate them in the fly. So if you don't want to incorporate them in the fly, before you tie your fly onto the line, slide it up onto your line, tie your fly on, and then you can push that sequins right into your knot, and you get all the action you want. And if you don't want it, cut it off. And you know, if it breaks or you lose one, just slide another one on. But the coolest thing I ever did, and I didn't think about it until just now, so I don't have one tied, but I'll get one and put it in another video, is I would tie a woolly bugger. And back then, we didn't have tungsten eyes and stuff like that, and brass wasn't heavy, so you kind of lead wrapped everything, or I would just tie them normal and put some split shot up above them and drop them down that way. So when I would do that, I would take my hook, and before I did anything else, I would slide a sequence on. So I'd get that sequence onto the deal, and I would have it facing with the cup forward onto my hook shaft. So then I would start behind it, and about 3/4 of the way, I would start tying that back 3/4 of the fly. So I'd have my marabou tail, my chenille, and my hackle all the way tied up to there, and then I would tie it off like it was completed. I'd whip finish it, I would be done. I'd push that sequence, and I always used a red one, up to that point, and then I started my chenille and my hackle back forward and tied the complete woolly booger. In that red sequence, it's a little bit bigger than the chenille, so it shined like a red gill plate. And when you would pull it, it wobbled that thing like it was an injured fish, and my numbers really increased. It was an awesome little fly, and it just worked. The sequins were, you know, they add the action. The only thing with them is the color will wear off eventually. Big deal. You can get them by the umpteens. You know, you can get big boxes of these things for, you know, for dollars. And like, you know, for, I don't know what's in this package, but I bet there's 400 or 500 of them, you know, for $1.25, and you can get any color imaginable. So if you're trying to add a little bit of action, or you're wanting to make like some gill plates, or even if you want to make your own cups or propellers, these things work great. Are they the perfect choice? No, they make specialty products for all kinds of different things, but these things will add some cool creativity to your flies that you wouldn't get normally, and you can make do with different things way cheaper. So if you're in a bind and you're trying to make something, can't get your hands on something, these things work great. Play with them, add them. Like I say, you can make gill plates, poppers, put them on your line. They're absolutely wonderful for creating a little bit of color, a little bit of glimmer, and a whole lot of action. So I hope this tip helps, and we will see you guys in the next video. Today's video, we're going to continue the series of alternative fly tying materials. So today I'm going to talk about a material that I've been using for a long time, and you can get it in multiple colors. It's a very durable material, and you can make pellet flies with it. You can make ants, you can make beetles, you can make wasps. You can color this material. It's just an unbelievable material, and I've used it to make little dry dropper setups. I really use it a lot when I'm taking young kids out to teach them how to fish. I take them out to my pond. I have a pretty big pond in my front yard, and I keep it stocked with trout and bluegill and stuff like that, and I feed these fish. So my fish are pretty much pellet trained. So I can go out there and I can throw some pellets, and them fish are going to rise up to it. So if I've got a little kid that's not really probably going to be great at casting or has never done this before, I'll throw some pellets out there and I'll make a little pellet fly out of this stuff and let them cast into it, and they're guaranteed to hit. And it's really, really fun. And like, I have some ginormous grass carp, probably 5 foot long grass carp in my pond, and they'll come up to that pellet as much as anything. So you can take one of these things, and I mean, it's a guaranteed hook set for a grass carp, which is fun. If you take a little kid out there and they've never fished before, and you can get them on a 5 foot grass carp, you know, they think they've caught shamu. So what this material is it's called grip tight liner. This stuff is made for like kitchen cabinets, and you put it down where your dishes and stuff are going to go. You put it in drawer liners and stuff like that, and it comes in a roll that is 1 foot by 4 foot. So the math that I'm doing, there's about 14,000 of these little squares in this roll, and you use 2 per fly, so you're looking at 7,000 flies. I think the math I did is 7,200 in one roll. And you can look, this, if you can see it right there, is $1.59 a roll. Now, I've bought some of this in the past for toolboxes. So you can go to the hardware store or your lumber yards and stuff like that, and you can get this where they sell toolboxes, and it is usually in blacks and browns. That's where I originally come up with the ant pattern. I take a couple pieces of the black and I tie a red hackle in the middle and makes a great ant pattern. But it's way more expensive in the lumber yards than it is in the department stores. So if you go to a department store, you can get this stuff for literally, this was under $2. I don't know a cheaper material. I don't know any other material that you can go and you can spend under $2 and tie 7,000 flies. It's amazing. This stuff takes marker really well. I've played with it over the years and taken a marker, and like wasps, I'll take a yellow color or I'll get a real light color like this and actually take a Sharpie marker and make it yellow and then make part of it black. And it makes a really good wasp body. It works really well if you're doing a dry dropper setup as well. You can take this stuff, it's super buoyant. So if you want to go out there and you fish a dry dropper, it gives you a little bitty indicator. And you can take your Sharpie marker and you can highlight it with super bright colors, or it comes in a lot of different colors. So you can get a color that's bright enough that you can use it as an indicator. This stuff is cheap, it's durable. I have taken kids out and caught, literally, you can go out in my front yard and catch 100 bluegill in an hour. It's just awesome. And you can take that fly and it's durable. Like, I take a kid out there fishing, I don't ever have to change flies because the fly got tore up. They work really well. It's really durable. And like I say, all I do is I tie a little hackle on there, and this is what I make is my little pellet fly. And this is probably the best thing I've ever made to teach people how to fly fish in my pond. So if you're fishing where there's stalkers, you're wanting to make ants, you're wanting to make wasps or beetles or a pellet fly, I don't know of a better material. And like I say, it comes in every color imaginable. I mean, I've got grays and blacks and browns and yellows and reds. You can get any color there is. And it takes a Sharpie marker. And you can even take acrylic paint and put on there. Now, acrylic paint's not near as durable as a Sharpie marker, but the Sharpie marker will stay on there and it doesn't come off. So I hope this tip helps, and we will see you guys in the next video. Today's video, we are going to get back onto alternative fly tying materials. Now, before I get started in the video, I want to apologize to you guys. I haven't made a video in a few weeks. We left and we went on vacation to Washington, D.C., and when we got back from vacation, I had a huge sinus issue going on, and I'm just now getting to the point where I can talk to you guys without my eyes dripping all over the place and boogers falling out of my nose. So we're going to try to get through this. I still got a little bit going on, but we're going to get through the video and we're going to show you some stuff. So today's video, we're going to talk about fly tying thread. Now, we all know that you can buy fly tying thread in these little spools, and it's not really that expensive. You can get a little spool like this, and depending on what brand you're using and what type you're using, you're going to pay from $1.50 from some really cheap stuff all the way up to, you know, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, you know, for a spool of thread. Now, a lot of those spools of threads, like here's one from Danville's, and I like their thread, but there's 50 yards on that, you know, and this is give or take $2, you know. So I tie a lot of flies that I sell the local fly shops into fly tires, and a lot of like jigs and like mop worms, mop flies, stuff like that, and they have a big thread base built on them. So I like a heavier denier thread for that, and a lot of the fly tying thread you buy is a smaller thread. So if you even get to like the 210 denier thread, it's not near as thick, so it takes several more wraps to build up, which in turn just wastes a lot of thread. So I've learned that I can go to my craft store and I can get spools of thread as such. And if you watch the sales, you can find these. Like I got some of these for $1.50 the other day for 3,000 yards. So you can get 50 yards or 3,000 yards, but they come in these great big spools. So it's a little bit awkward, it's a little bit of a mess to try to deal with, but you can also get some that come in spools this size, and these have 250 yards. And again, I got these for 50 cents the other day. And these are polyester thread. Now, I like polyester thread for my jigs. I like it for my mop flies and stuff where I'm really building up a big thread base. And the polyester grips really good. It takes the head cement really good. It locks on really good. I've had no complaints. I've been using it for quite a while. And when I do that, I can buy this thread for pennies on the dollar, and it's a simple little tool that transfers it to the bobbins that we need. So you can buy this little thing, and it's called a side winder, and it's just a spooler. If you go to your craft store, go in the sewing department, and every one of them is going to have it. And basically what it does is you take your little bobbin and you put the bobbin that you've got there, and you take your empty bobbin and you put it here, and you run the thread through there, and you push this little button and it spins, and it just pulls the thread off of one spool to the other. It's easy, and these little things, you can get them for like $10, $10, $15. They're not very expensive, and everyone has them. You can find these things, you know, local thrift stores, stuff like that, for hardly anything. And I got this little deal, and it transfers great. So you can get these big spools of thread, and you can move them onto the bobbin size thread that you want. And I have even went to the point where I've got a pretty big size thread deal. And you can see, I mean, I've spun this spool down pretty low and fill up my bobbins. And I can do that, and it takes me a few minutes to do it. So I can sit on that machine in 5 or 10 minutes. I can spool 10 spools of thread and save myself $30. So it works out really well. And if you go and you look in your thread departments, you can find polyester, you can find silk, you can find, you know, different nylons and stuff like that that'll all work in fly tying. Don't get cotton. Cotton will absorb the water and it'll rot away and it doesn't work really good. But I've had really good luck with polyester. Now the polyester yarn that, or thread that I buy, is a little thicker denier than what you'll get anywhere else. So you need to look at the size of your thread to make sure you're not getting too bigger, because a lot of sewing thread is going to be way bigger than what we use in fly tying. So watch and see. But if you go and you look, they have sales all the time, and it is way cheaper to buy it in bulk. And you can get one of these little thread spoolers, and they're not very expensive. The bigger commercial ones, they don't even cost that much money. And you can, I go through one of these spools probably every 2 to 3 weeks. And, you know, you add the math up on what that's saving me, you know, at the end of the day, I'm making a little bit of money doing what I do, and it helps fund my fishing hobby. So the more money that I can save and put out a good quality product, the better. And for you guys that live in places like me where you can't get thread unless you order it through the mail or you drive 2.5 hours to get it, this gives you an option to where you can buy thread locally. And like I say, you can get that little machine, it'll just spin it right on there. They work really well, and anybody that sews probably has one of these. So if you know a quilter, they probably have one that they'll let you use. Or my wife had a couple, my mother sews and she had a couple. This is something that's really common in the sewing industry. So if you know somebody who's into that, or if your wife sews, steal her little machine for a little bit, go to the local craft store, buy you big spools of thread, and save your empty bobbins every time you're empty. And you can transfer them over, and at the end of the day, you're going to save yourself a ton of money and get a really good quality product as well. So I hope this tip helps. This little tool is a pretty awesome little gadget to have, and we will see you in the next video. Today's video, we're going to continue on with our series of alternative fly tying materials. Now this video is going to be a couple different materials, but for the same purpose. So when I make these videos, I'm not trying to get you guys to not go to your fly shops. I'm trying to get you guys to realize you can get materials anywhere. Back when I was a kid, there wasn't a fly shop within 7 hours of my house. So anything I got, I would find locally. And as an adult, I've continued to do that. It's just as much fun for me as tying, is finding new materials. So I'm going to show you guys a couple materials that I've been using for years that are really good materials, and they do a really good job for you. And we're going to talk about rubber legs today. So with that said, there's multiple uses for rubber legs. Get these frog patterns, you can get them on the water, they hop around on the water. Rubber legs make a bunch of action. I do a lot of hopper droppers, so I'll fish with a hopper pattern, a chubby Chernobyl, something like that up top with a midge down below. That's what I use for my indicator. This year, guys, is apocalyptic fishing, and you guys need to understand that you should have some of these, and that is the cicada pattern. This thing here is a great fly, and this year we're going to have some crazy thing take place where hatches that haven't happened in like 200 years are all going to take place at the same time. The central eastern United States is going to have billions of these things on the water. So tie you some of these up. I'm actually making a video tonight that I'll release tomorrow with how to do that. So today let's talk about rubber legs. Now when we go buy the rubber legs, they come in a little package, and some of them dry out pretty quick. Some of them last a little bit better, but there's a better product that I think for rubber legs, and that is these bad boys. These are skirts for spinner jigs for bass. You can get these at any department store. If a department store sells fishing tackle, they probably have some of these in. They're going to be cheaper than your rubber legs. They're a little bit thinner than some of the rubber legs, so they, you know, if you're wanting real thick legs, I'm going to show you something in a minute for that. But these work great. Something else they work great for is if you're tying any kind of streamer, woolly booger, any kind of pattern that you would put like some Flashabou tinsel in, you can put this stuff in instead, and it gives it a bunch of action when you're twitching your rod. They work great for legs. Okay, so what makes these better? Well, you can buy, instead of one of these, you can buy what's called an assortment pack, and you can get multiple colors that are going to give you way more options than if you went and bought the single color of legs. And I'm telling you, you can get assortments of everything, and you can get this whole assortment for about the price of one pack of rubber legs. So they work great for that. Now, these things also make a really cool nymph pattern. So if you're tying midges and nymphs where you would wire wrap you can take and wrap this stuff on your hook, and it'll stretch pretty thin, so you can even get it down on really fine hooks. This stuff makes great midges and nymph bodies as well. So this is a really good product. It's not very expensive. If there's a color out there, you can get that option in it. Also, if you want to variegate it with different stuff, that takes a Sharpie marker really well. However, my favorite leg for the cicada, especially chubby Chernobyls, anything that fishes up top. If I'm fishing poppers or anything that I want a bunch of action and I want them legs to work, get you one of these. These things are called a koosh ball. Now they make one that's like a cloth thing. That's not it. These are like a rubbery silicone deal. I don't actually know what they're made out of. But I know I have flies in my box that are over 10 years old that have these for legs, and they're still not dry. They are amazing. And it's a little bit stiff and durable. So if you twitch that rod, they make all kinds of commotion into the water, and then fish are going to react to it and take it apart. These make great legs. You can get them in bigger balls. You can get, man, every color imaginable. And you can get them that have multiple colors in one ball. They are a great product to have. So with that said, here's you a couple more options for some rubber legs. I also want to get into another discussion with you guys real quick. A little while back, I had talked about reaching out about starting a fly fishing club for my daughter and some of her friends who are homeschooled. My daughter needs a little bit of extra work with school that the public school system just couldn't provide. So we went the route of homeschool, and with that, we sacrificed a lot of sports and stuff that she really liked to do. So we wanted to do something different, and we wanted to give her a better opportunity. And with that, we lost a bunch of other things, sacrificing her sports. So we decided, she loves fly tying and fly fishing, that we would try to reach out to other kids and start a fly fishing club. And I reached out to you guys a while back about it, and the response was pretty awesome. And we're there. We're making it happen. April 1st, we're actually going to have our first get together. We have 14 kids signed up already, and I'm thinking there's going to be several more. So we've got some kids whose parents are going to stay and help us, who are as young as 5, and the oldest kid is going to be 18. So we have an awesome group of kids, and what we're going to do is we're going to tie flies a couple nights in a month, you know, 1 week, and then take a break off, and then the next week tie, and then the last week we'll go fishing. And what we're going to do is we're going to fish with the stuff they made, and during those classes we'll have some kids tie, and while we're tying, we're going to have some kids go out and learn how to cast. So we'll do some casting lessons, and you know, and switch it back and forth. And with that, hopefully by the time we get to the water, they're going to be able to know the basic fundamentals of fly fishing, and then they're going to be able to tie, and they're going to be able to catch fish with, you know, patterns they tied. And we're introducing them to conservation. I mean, the greatest hobby in the world is fly tying, so this is going to be a really good deal for them. So in my description is all of my contact information. If you guys are interested, please let me know. You know, if you guys want to, anybody would be interested in donating any kind of fly fishing equipment, fly tying equipment, or even money. My PayPal is up there, my address is up there. If you earmark what it's for, we're keeping really good records, so we can share it with you guys to show you where the money is actually going. And this is going to help a lot of kids who don't get to interact with a lot of other kids. And kids need social skills. They need to be able to interact with people, so this is going to help us with that. So those of you who have helped, thank you. And I just wanted to reach out again, not trying to be a beggar out here, but when it comes to my kids and other people's kids, let's give them the best opportunity in life. And this is the best hobby that you could ever introduce anybody to. With that being said, if you do make some kind of a donation, we're going to volunteer and do river and lake cleanups, and try to do that like once every couple months. And we'll have an awning where our lunch and stuff is out there, and I'll get a banner or something made. I got some people who said they would donate that, and we'll put all the sponsors on that thing to where everybody knows who's actually helping us do this. So if you guys are interested, please reach out to us, and we would appreciate that. Also, if you haven't, go to our webpage. It's I'veGotBugs.com, and it has links to my Amazon account, to where I'm an author. I have several outdoor books that are in there, if you guys are interested in that. And we're also fixing to start uploading into our own personal store on the webpage, where we'll have different fly stuff. We're going to have some fly tying kits. We have apparel, like I got shirts, you know, that have stuff. We have hats. We have fishing hoodies. We're going to have a lot of different stuff on our store, so please go to our webpage and check us out. We will have things growing and growing and growing that way, and it'll give you lots of options of different things that you can do. It has a link to our, of course, the YouTube, the Facebook page, our Amazon author page, and anything else that comes up, we'll continue to add to that. And I'm going to start a personal blog on there to where you guys can kind of read and, you know, see what we got going on. So I appreciate all y'all's support. This has been a lot of fun for me. I enjoy doing it, and I hope you guys are actually getting something out of it as well. And with what we're doing with these kids, I hope that we can pass this tradition on down, and we can really make something great happen. So thank you guys for everything. We'll see you in the next video.